And here we go, ladies and gents, for what many would assume, and I would agree with them, is the main event of the day. The match that promises so much, and hopefully it will deliver even a small percent. It's NiP versus Big. Two teams that are huge in terms of fan base. Big, of course, picking up a huge one after the major, rightfully so. And NiP have always been one of Sweden's favourite teams, favourite sons. But here they are, going to be going up against it in a best of three. Winner goes through to the semis to face off against Gambit. Loser is knocked out. It is that simple. I'm Vince, joined by Dust. And we're about to get map number 1 underway.
You want to hear a cool fun fact? Are you ready? This is the first online match that Reds will have played with NiP. There you go.
Today I learned.
Yep. Everything he's played with them before this was LAN. ESL One Cologne was one of them. The other one. ESL One Cologne and Valencia. There you go. Boom. Got him.
So let's cut to the chase then.
Okay.
Obviously, Reds hasn't been with NiP for a super long time. But in terms of predictions, where do you come down with this? The maps are Train, Cache, and Mirage. Do you have a clear-cut favorite, or do you see this going down to the wire?
I mean, those certainly aren't bad maps for Big, by the way. What you said? What's the order? Train, Cache, and then Mirage is as a third.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all decent maps for Big, so I mean, they should feel pretty good about it. I mean, NiP, it's hard to know because they haven't played that much with Rez, but certainly these are maps that are in their ballpark as well. So I would expect this to be pretty good stuff. I mean, I like to favor NiP a little bit. I think there's just something about NiP when they get new blood injected into the team. They just seem to really, like it just does something for the whole lineup when that happens for them for whatever reason. So I like to think they might be riding that high.
Yeah, they certainly are the kind of team that bode well with newer blood, but we're going to find out right now as we're in the first pistol of this best of 3. We'll see NiP on the CP side. Get right. He's going to chime in for the first kill, and the second is on, and the third, get right. Just lighting up box halls with his USP, slapping away Big. And just like that, the round is almost over. Tabson is a monster with pistols. He's going to get the first one to get right in this confrontation, but you have to feel like the veterans that enough exist stands up and delivers on to next, and that's all on Tabson. As Rez to contend with on the site, who's on the spools, just has to bide his time and wait. He knows that Tabson's going to be preoccupied elsewhere, and is able to close line Tabson out the round. NiP do pick up the first.
Indeed, they will. Some great work, particularly from Get Right. What can you say about those 3 USB headshots there inside? Inner halls above the ladder. That was pretty much what sealed the deal. It was easy pickings from that point to finish the job for the rest of his team. It's Big, with no bomb plant there, of course. Actually, still take a pretty light approach on this. You don't see them go really heavy-handed with armor and upgraded pistols as you normally would see second rounds go when a plant's not involved in the game. So curious to see what they're going to do off the back of that, as we are going to see Draken getting aggressive here at ladder with the MP9, farming some cash, getting that kill on the Legia, no problem. Kiev, that's a nice little 1D to respond with, as that will give them maybe a bit of room to work with an outer. That is where that bomb is making a shift towards.
Now, Kiev typically a pretty damn good player on Train. I think I was casting with you way back in DreamHack Leipzig earlier this year, where he was a monster on this map with the AWP, of course.
Yeah, he's got some really insane firing speed with the AWP. He's definitely fun to watch. It's just about the consistency.
Yeah, consistency was an issue. Even in that tournament, went from hero to 0 and then back to hero again. Bit of a yo-yo player. That Draken. You see a Halo gunfire coming to his left as to turn his attention. He thought maybe someone was Ivy, now realizes that the remaining terrorists are all over on the team main side. Kiev has already landed one beautiful one tap, has added another one to his repertoire. Get right, gets wrecked. And now Kiev could potentially add further economic misery onto NiP, or not. Forrest holds fast on top of the train.
So NiP, after suffering one deed to Kiev, recovered pretty well. Kiev does get another one before it's all said and done, but NiP pretty comfortably take that one. Again, Big not getting anything into this. They would just wanted to make sure that they get a nice full buy in the next round is what I can imagine. Just making sure they get the AWP out, making sure they have full utility. all that good stuff. So this should be NiP getting the 3-0 no problem, especially given that a couple of these guys are still just on Glocks. There's one smoke and one flash, but look at Drake and getting aggressive with that MP9, looking to print money. That's exactly what he'll do, is he'll get the bomb down as well.
Legia is coming back with some kills of his own. Thompson almost a sacrificial lamb to allow Legia to get the second one, and there's actually a clear path to the site, so he should be able to get a bomb plant for his troubles. The HE may end his life afterwards, but the job's done, and there we have it. A touchdown from Connector. The bomb plant is yielded by Big. That's going to bolster the next buy that much more. They should be able to afford North in the hands of the likes of Keith. It's going to be a solid purchase in round 4.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they were really conservative with their buys the past couple of rounds after losing Pistol, and that they got a bomb plant, I mean, all their doors are open at this point as far as utility goes, as far as in, AWP goes. I mean, they should really have everything that they could want to work with in this round. Meanwhile, we will see NiP get the AWP onto Draken. No surprise there. Don't actually see Forrest go for any type of double AWP setup. He already had the M4, so we'll just carry that over. Rebuy some nades, spend $900 doing that. Wouldn't be surprised if at some point later on you see Forrest pick up a second AWP, something he does like to do on this map. They have a bit of a pause. I think this is a technical pause because the coach for Big dropped and had to come back, so we should be getting live with this here pretty soon.
Yeah, Kakafu had a cheeky reconnect.
What a name that is.
Pretty beast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just waiting to see what Rez is going to buy as well, plus Tabson. I assume Tabson will go for his AK-47, very strong rifler.
Absolutely.
Rez could potentially pick up an AWP. I mean, it is trained CT side. I guess it just depends on do they want to go for a double AWP this early?
If he did, I'm sure he'd drop it to Forrest and get the M4. Yeah, I'm not sure that's in the cards or not. As Rez is kind of the solo inner player for this team now. It's kind of the position he's taken up. So, looks like NiP kind of accommodating to him, giving him a spot that he wants to play, shifting personnel around to do that.
I wonder if it was just a case of Kakafu having a reconnect, or if we actually have a player with some issues right now. The fact that neither Rez nor Tabson have bought up. We'll let you know as soon as we find out what the issues are, guys. Not too much to talk about either, Dust. It has been just fairly clear-cut rounds for the Ninjas. Sure, there's been 5 kills in the last 3 rounds for Big, so it's not as if they've been completely crushed. They've got a bomb plant as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, Gabi has always been considered one of the top in-game leaders as far as... Really, one of the special things about him is that, yes, he can play good default CS and give Keith time to work the AWP and just kind of work map control and play from that. Well, a lot of teams can do that. But one of the things about Gabi is that he is actually pretty crafty in coming up with gimmicky stuff or coming up with, like, really fine-tuned executes that are really well-coordinated, which is, like, an extra added piece to the T-sides that he can bring to the table that some teams don't really have in their arsenal. Or they just don't have it as much. Like, he can add like these little unique twists or these little added details that can kind of just put a little bit more weight behind the punch of the execute that maybe other teams don't necessarily do. So I would say Big, and Gabi in particular, is definitely one of those in-game leaders you can really look to that do come up with cool executes on top of being able to play really good default CS. Which I think playing sound default CS has really become the meta of CSGO lately. Like, everyone seems to be, like, all the strong teams you can think of all have really good defaults and all have really good mid-round shot calling and adjustments. But it's about those teams that put in the extra executes that are a little bit more special, like an SK Gaming, for example, like Threat was doing with NiP, coming up with some innovative stuff. And Gabi is certainly another one of the people of that grouping that can bring it to the table.
Oh, looks like we're going to have the unpause. So, yeah, it's going to be an M4 and an AK purchased, respectively, between Tabson and Rez. So no double AWP shenanigans for either team just yet. As he's saying, Gabi, notorious for being a very intelligent in-game leader, has a bunch of strategics, or strategies I should say, up his sleeve. Strategics! Icon Inglando. To be fair, we've been casting for like 9.5 hours at this stage, so my brain's melting. But I think we've left the best game till last, to be fair. This I think this could be a cracker of a game.
Ooh,
there's a boost,
boost.
and he was going to land onto Forest. Pretty big scalp to take as well. Out on the A site. That's going to keep 3 of them interested. That pretty much leaves Rez by himself. He's not going to have any support for the time being.
As Big will take their time with that. I mean, when you get an early advantage like that, you have this much time left on the clock, you're better off just looking to see how will the CDs respond. They have to make a play to even the odds, and oh, that foot was spotted by Keeve, and Exist will jiggle peek out a little bit too far, and so Keeve will find that frag as well, and now the odds stack even more against NiP as it's a 5-on-3, still a lot of time left as well for Big to work with. You fancy their chances in this, unless someone can come up big. Draken, he'll have his chance with the AWP, does land one. Ooh, that was a close one on the second.
It's been a tale of the Orpers, but now Rez has came in, he's thrown his weight behind the M4, 3 kills. He is Doom incarnate for Big. And Draken will mop up the rest. Great work by Rez. Take about.
Ooh. It's a full house from the new boys, man. 3 for Rez, 2 for Draken. Those 3 from Rez were so on point. Really saved the round for NiP. That was all but Biggs at that point. Losing the 5-on-3 has got to be tough for them.
Yeah, especially considering that Keeve gets 2 really nice picks at the start of the round. One off a boost and the other one just peeking out long at the right time, down alley. And to go from those 2 picks into a loss, that is going to sting, definitely. That was their gateway into getting themselves on the board here and cutting down the NiP economy somewhat. But now
just went man mode.
Big that's got wrecked.
He just pushed through a smoke at Z and just came out and unleashed that M4. Just a big individual play, and that keeps NiP out in front in a big way, especially since Big are working with very little here, and Forrest will find a headshot.
It's not going to get any easier for Big. That nade's doing a bit less damage than expected, chipping away Keeve and Tabson a little bit, though. It's going to keep them at bay for the time being as well, at arm's reach. But it is somewhat of a fake. That smoke is going to likely give away the strat now, though. It's gone down into ramp. Molotov will counteract. Going to eat up some valuable time. Nice 1 deep by Tabson. He is so powerful with this weapon. You cannot take your eyes off Tabson. He has the potential to be one of the world's best players. I genuinely believe that.
Definitely got one of the world's best Deegs, so I will give him that.
When he has a deagle in his hands, you cannot take this big side for granted at all, but time is ticking down ever so quickly now. Get right. He's going to silence Tabson. No more 1 Deeg to be coming from his hands. Next round, the back into main with God B. I think, honestly, Keeve is going to have to play a very impactful role from Ivy if they want any chance at doing this. He's got to come around the side and try and dispatch one of these CTs. Only 9 seconds left. The bomb's been dropped. Keeve's going to come through with a kill. And Godby will take down Forest. Is this realistically going to happen now?
No.
No. There's not enough time, but they're doing a lot of economic damage in the process. Considering that Big only had pistols and a scout coming through into this round, not bad at all to take 4 players down with them. Now NiP have to use a bunch of their money. And as you say, yeah, they get an AWP out of it as well.
I mean, I guess not free in the sense that Godby didn't have a hell of a lot of money, but I mean, he gets dropped an AK, no problem, so it does still save money in the long run. We'll see what Keeve can do with AWP. Had a couple of big picks in the opening gun round for Big. They just couldn't capitalize on it. Rez shut them down big time. Looks like they do want to fancy their chances outside once again, but some good counter nades from NiP really hold Keeve off from getting out with that AWP and finding any picks. Meanwhile, they're also doing some good damage. Keeve down 69. Of course, that would be the number he's down to. Forrest gets picked off.
Yeah, again, Forrest is the first player to fall for NiP. They've done a good job at bridging the deficits so that they've had. They've lost the first player. They typically bounce back with 2 or 3 of their own kills. But there's been quite a while between the frag and the subsequent action. And he's just going to go for the beak through the Molotov and through the fire and flames. And he's going to be taking down Tabson. Get right behind the green train. The lonely incendiary rolling into the distance. Next going to go down. Bomb was getting planted, has been finalized, but everybody else has died. It's all on God B at the back of the site. He's not going to last too much longer. So Forrest dies, and then all of the big players go with him. NiP, that's a huge round for them, economically speaking. Just what they're looking for.
Yeah, really well done by Big. Exists with a well-timed peek on Ivy, catching a player with his pants down, basically, and then just everyone else pitching in as well, particularly Get Right, who was hiding by Green Train, just waiting for the perfect opportunity to take a shot, and he lands it. They concede the bomb plant, sure, but, I mean, they flawlessly retake. And the double lot setup will be in effect. I believe Kiev's AWP was collected and passed along, so Draken will still have his, and Forrest will add to it. That'll make things even tougher on Big now to go up against that. This double op on Train can be very tough to fight against. As we will see a timeout. I imagine this one's tactical for Big.
Yeah,
they do have enough money to get a full buy here. Kiev will have his chance at the AWP once more. Next still hasn't really gotten in the game yet. And outside of Kiev, no one really has, to be fair.
I mean, Next is on for the 007. And yeah, Keith has more kills than the rest of his team combined. It pretty much sums up how it's been going for Big so far. So, tactical timeout, just to mentally refresh. Still very early days in this best of 3. This is just the first map if you've joined us. It's going to be Train, then Cash, then Mirage if we need it. And this is the choice of Big. So, more pressure being applied to them. Want to make sure they don't slip and slide out of this map before it even begins, really. And they're running out of time, Dust. I mean, they can still bring this back for sure, but if NiP continue on this path, this round, well, this half is just going to get out of control completely.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting to a point where you're starting to get into like a full buy, force buy rotation if you keep losing. I mean, yeah, you're at maximum loss bonus and you're going to be able to keep buying as guns are a bit cheaper on Terrace, but if you want full utility in AWPs, you have to start taking saves and throwing them into the mix. That's where NiP can just keep pounding you. As they already have a decent amount of money and they have the double AWP set up, they have plenty of utility to slow down faster pushes, so that's not really an option for Big anymore. You can't really go for aggressive plays because T-Connector's always going to get stuffed by counter nades or incendiaries, and so like fast out executes are basically out of the question at this point.
Plenty nice to play with Big. 2 players hiding in main. God B currently in Pop Dog. Last 2 straggling over on the box hall side. Nothing really between the 2 teams. It's been eerily silent. Sound of smokes blooming in the distance. He's about to see a smoke firsthand. Blocks his vision completely. Leggy is going to go at it with Rez, and he comes out best. A spray through the smoke on point, doesn't lose any health in the process. Excellent start, but Big have got to continue. You've seen them get the opening pick before into the likes of Forest and do nothing with it. This time, though, Kiyu is going to get a second player. Get Right has been put 6 foot under. Momentarily silenced. Forrest is going to answer back, though, with a free frag onto Catwalk, and it may keep him at bay for a little while longer. Drake is not able to land the no-scope. And now the pressure mounting for Exist. Spring through the smoke and actually stops the bomb plant. That is disgusting. Forrest needs to come good now for NiP. Exist has been forced out of position. The smoke is going to save Forrest's life a little while longer, but now that it's cleared, surely Forrest is a dead man walking. Not lethal injection, but AK-47 round will finish him off, and Next will pick up the rest. He will not be getting a James Bond today. Instead, gets a double frag, and Big get their first round on the board. And because of NiP's few sketchy rounds prior, they're actually not great in terms of finances. They could get a buy, but Forrest would have very little.
Yeah, just kind of a perfect storm of events for Big there. I mean, catching Draken in a really awkward space with his AWP. Big catching Get Right's aggression. Legia getting a nice little spam through the smoke on Rez. Like, just a lot of things going Big's way that round. You gotta wonder if that's going to be repeatable, though. Some fortunate things really went for them there. Rez again looking to lurk around the smoke. Again, Legia silences him through it. That's tough to go up to bat like that twice and strike out both times.
That's the key thing, though, isn't it? We talk about this so many times that once a team finally breaks in and they get around, can they rinse and repeat? Can they continue to push that pressure forward? Or was it a one-off? Was it a fluke? Big trying to prove that it wasn't, that Lightning will strike twice. And if they were to win this round, NiP would be into an eco. This is their gateway back in. This is their golden ticket. Will they cash in? Tabson taking point on Ivy. There is a smoke and a molly ahead of him. Going to be throwing out another smoke to try and allowing himself the room to move through. But additionally, Get Right is laid in wait, but Tabson finds it and connects the headshot. He will be traded out, but now Nex is going to tee off from Team Main onto Exist, who had his commitments elsewhere. He was worried about Ivy. Forrest from Ivy now is the next player to fall, and Big have done it. They have broken the economy alongside picking up 2 rounds back-to-back. They're now back in this half.
Yeah, this is where they can really start gaining some ground, as they know that NiP are basically without anything in this round. It's just going to be base pistols for the Ninjas. USPs across the board, saving all the money that they can. They will be able to get a buy next round, though. So that's the good news. It's not like they're in some type of weird double save or save force buy scenario. They'll be able to put something together on round number 10. But this is where Big can maybe get a freebie. Or at least they should be getting a freebie, as they're trying to push down Kiev, but he's got a safety net that's Nex backing him up with that AK. And so all things will be cleaned up, and Big will decrease the deficit a bit. They've halved it in the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's not just about halving the deficit, though. It's also about knocking NiP out of a very stable economic position and really making them feel the sting. Mag 7 picked up to Get Right. You know, he does like to rock out this weapon from time to time. There's plenty of areas you can use it on the CT side here that are just fine. Forrest also has an AWP. It's really fast cannon, though. And Exist playing with fire. He's going to be coming head-to-head with Kiev. He's going to get the out trade. No, he's not. Forrest goes down as well. So much investment in a blink of an eye is taken off the table. Kiev just extinguishes about 8k in terms of equipment value.
Let's not forget that Kiev's opening picks have just been on point. Every time he's had an AWP, even in rounds that his team has lost, he's always seemed to be able to find these openings. And that's great news for Big, to just get those free kills like that, essentially. Draken, though, does get to respond onto Nex. At least he brings 1 back with still some work left to do. He gets pushed off by that fire. Tabson will work up with the AK. Flash comes out, but it's not good enough. Tabson finds that kill. Almost another. Rez does fight back, but they're still down a man.
Make that 2. And Rez is limping. He's crawling. Digging his nails in, trying to survive with his 10 health. Time to burn. Not quite. Kiev holds fast for a 3rd. Trades back to the AWP. And Big have got 1 step closer.
Money back low for NiP. They'll have to save up once more. This time they'll put a little bit more of a punch behind it. Just a few deagles spread out. A CZ from Get Right. A couple of smokes. But this should be Big finding 5. Really finding their footing here lately. They've been able to start capitalizing on Key's opening picks. I'll also say Leggy has been on the winning end of this war in inner halls against Rez a lot of the time as well. That's been another factor in some of these rounds.
Yeah, I feel like one of the main differences between what we saw in the opening rounds and the last 4 is that they've got the opening picks, but they've actually converted off them. They haven't just slipped back into obscurity after getting the kills. And Tabson again is going to come good onto a kill with Draken. How do NiP counteract with this? They have Rez, who's played up aggressive in box halls, hiding behind the front box. You normally expect him to be on the second one, but it won't be getting him a kill. And just like that, B right for the taking. And Big, they're not going to hold back. Straight through onto the site with a bomb plant. Forest, Exist, and Get Right. All coming through. See if they can get this retake or potential exit frags. It looks like they're setting up for more of a save rather than a retake. They have some pistols to work with in the next rounds. White has got himself a kill. Not able to get his hands on the weapon just yet. And now it's all on Exist, who's back in the CT spawn. So Big going to be going 6-0 to 6-5. It has been very much a streaky game so far here on Train. The momentum now firmly in the favor of the Germans.
Yeah, I mean, you have to feel that NiP was relying a lot on some big individual plays to win rounds. I mean, Rez had that big hat trick round. You saw Get Right with a really big round once. I mean, it really was a tale of them always fighting from behind, even in the rounds that they won, particularly because of Key's opening picks with AWPs. And we noted that the big change was the fact that Big was capitalizing on them now, but the opposite end of that equation is that NiP have you know, they can't rely on just replicating these individual plays every time. They need to come up with something together, and they will have a good buy into this one, including Drake and having that AWP. Trying to neutralize Key, you think, has to be in their game plan at this point. Also, Rez is trying to weather the storm of some of these spams at Inner is also a big factor. No second out for Forrest this time. Still playing that rotation position, however. Will be coming to help out Rez.
Once again, silence falls in the battlefield. Almost statuesque play from both teams. Really, no one budging an inch other than Exist, who's constantly moving back and forth on the Ivy side. But the Terrorists locked in position.
Yeah, pretty passive stuff from Bid. They're just looking for aggression from NiP. It is Kiev keeping an op trained on Ivy and seeing if anyone's going to push through there. Meanwhile, Next playing way back in T-Con. So giving a lot of respect to NiP, and they are taking that room. I mean, NiP is pushing Get Right up to E-Box to play aggressively on ladder. He does spot one, gets some damage in, and begins to fall back with that smoke grenade. As it is coming down to the late round, so they need to make a decision soon. Looks like they want to split outer through ladder and T-Con, but there's still some incendiaries here that NiP can spin to force them to take damage as they come out.
Absolutely. They have incendiaries, they have a HE, they have flashes. Now starting to be thrown in big. How have you left this too late? You've got 15 seconds. You've not just got to get kills, but you've got to get onto the site and get the plant as well. All it takes is a spree of action that could be taken away. Get Right with one. The smoke on the site, though, will afford Legia a bomb plant, surely. And down it goes. So big at last second, quite literally. But seemingly is going to be a success. Forrest has not been checked on the site, and with flashes and smokes in amongst the action and the chaos falling on A, he needs to be able to stand tall for a little while longer. Still hasn't been forced off, but his teammate's dead, and this is going to put all the pressure in the world now on Forrest. And tapping through the smoke preemptively. I think Next just saw the barrel of the gun sticking through, but Forrest still picks up a kill God B before he is extinguished. We are all even 6-6. Ninjas are struggling.
I thought Big was the one struggling there. I mean, they were really hurting right out there on the clock. They didn't really even get out into the outer bomb site until there was only about 10 or 12 seconds left on the clock. And if any one thing would have gone wrong, that would have been the end of it. But a couple of key kills from Tabson and Nex ensure that that bomb gets planted, as well as a key smoke grenade. And they do tie things up. NiP unable to make the retake work, and they're back into a situation where they're going to have to take a lower buy. I mean, they have enough money here to maybe get some P250s or something small, but I'm sure that they want to save, perhaps to maybe even get a double op back and play again. You see Forrest picking up a Deagle, but you have to imagine that no one's really going to dip below $3,000.
Of course, all of this success for Big happening after the pause. Magic of the pause once again. It used to be the NiP magic that we spoke of. Let's see if this pause is going to yield something for NiP. You don't expect to see a full buy come through at this stage. You're expecting pistols and Kevlar, or in Get Right's case, a scout. You want to drop below $2,000 for round loss bonus. It means they can get AWPs, means they can get M4s in the next rounds.
Yeah, I think it's very telling that Forreston doesn't get armor and only buys a Deagle. That he definitely wants to get that second op.
Yep. This is starting to get pretty precarious for NiP. As with Big's economy as it stands, you assume they'll take this round. They're going to be full buying for the rest of this half. There's going to be no gimmies for NiP. They have to scrap until the bitter end. Army Rez on the B side of the map, currently chilling on ramp. More shoulder peeking than anything else. And now that he's seen a couple of players, he's going to have Forrest rotate into connector. Now at the back of the site with his Deagle. That was beautiful, Dust. I just hope people...
I don't know what you mean.
I hope
didn't
people
do anything.
didn't hear that. All I hear is a disgusting burp in my ear. Like,
It wasn't a burp.
Lecky's gonna get a frag with the AK. And I'll Get Right, it's gone down. I've lost it. I've lost the plot. Forrest is only gonna be able to get one. And this round going the way we expected. Exist and Draken left alive.
Well, that's unfortunate. I even covered my mouth and hit my mic mute button. Apparently, it did not go through. That's great. Top quality keck.
I just sat here trying to cast and I just hear this horrible, like,
I'm literally hammering down my microphone mute button.
Like, come on, cuz.
I don't know what happened. Apparently my mic mute button just didn't work. Gotta love it.
Terrorists win.
7-6. And as we anticipated, 2 AWPs picked up. Going back to that tried and tested double up setup on train. Big sticking with just the one. No reason to switch up. This has been working a charm for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Force was saving up for. I mean, he went for that Deagle no armor buy to make sure he could have this here. Draken, though, trying to take his aggressively up the lower ramp, is absolutely picked apart by Tabson. Legia also finding Rez yet again. He's really just had Rez's card in this inner bomb side. Looks like he'll have even more on him this time as he does find Get Right as well. Some big pieces down for NiP as Force will have to fight back with Exist here and still a man disadvantage. Meanwhile, the bomb is coming into A. It's all a sham, and Force gets caught trying to rotate back. What a well-designed round from Big. Everything went their way.
That just has the God B stamp on it, doesn't it? The kind of play that he is renowned for. And Big have done it yet again. 8 rounds in a row. Now for the final round of the half, NiP don't have too much to play with. Can probably afford UMP or 2, maybe an M4 thrown in the mix, but if they do, it'd likely be on Exist, and you would only have headless armor, no nades, as he's just gone for now. So this is bottom of the barrel stuff.
Yeah, it has been a huge turn of events in this game. I mean, NiP were well out in front. They were looking dominant. They were up 6-0. They were making huge plays. Even in rounds where Big were looking sharp, they weren't able to finish. And yet here, Big have strung off 8 rounds in a row, and with NiP at this disadvantage, a 9th isn't out of the question by any means. Just the UMPs out here for Forrest, Draken, and Rez. The scout on Get Right.
Feel a little bit pressured to make inroads, and Exist is going to claim a kill on Ivy. But instantly answered back. Get Right needs to be careful if his head shows from Pop Dog. It could be taken clean off by God B. And meanwhile, next, moving through onto Team A. Forrest is one, flash down a position, and God B will do the rest. Just keeping his team in this round single-handedly. Cordoning off connector with both the molly and a smoke. But now it's down to Exist. He's made the lurk all the way around the back of Ivy. He's about to claim some kills, surely. Key, not long for this world, gets fragged, and a second kill goes the way of Exist. That flank and lurk was just absolutely on point. And Exist will pick up a 4K. NiP finish in winning ways, but they'll be very disappointed about how that mid portion of the half went.
Yeah, just Big. Playing a really good T side. I mean, short of that one round that came down to the wire and they almost ran out of time, every other T round they played was just well done. I mean, obviously they had to weather the storm of having really low economy when you know, NiP goes up 6-0 and you're having to start taking some saves. But once they got kind of back in order, they got their money back and they took that time out and they started thinking things through. I mean, their T rounds were just so well orchestrated. I mean, whether it was just straight up the way they executed and how they timed their utility and how coordinated they were when they pushed together, or even that one round, right, where you saw them, you know, get a couple of picks into inner with Tamsin and Legia, particularly Legia, but then they just make that pivot back to outer and completely catch NiP in awkward space rotating. I mean, you could just see the calls were certainly there, that well-disciplined T-side coming into effect that Big is so known for. And it gets them a pretty solid half. I mean, 8 rounds on T-side train. You can't really shake your head at that, especially after the start they had. It's about as good as it gets.
Absolutely, that's a solid half of Counter-Strike. Now on to the CT side, where of course the economy comes into play a little bit for Big. If they make mistakes, then NiP will punish them. But as you highlighted, this could have been a whole different ballgame. This could be a a horrendous half, like a 12-3, 11-4 half. Big will take it. Into the second pistol, we will go. I'm expecting to see NiP pick up some utility. At the very least one smoke. Surely Exist will pick up a smoke and a couple of flashes here.
Another crazy thing about that half from Big is Townsend's one of the lowest fraggers on the team for the half.
Yeah.
You know, yet they still pulled it out. I mean, normally Townsend's a guy relying on to put up big numbers, so it really shows that, you know, maybe they're not completely relying on him, which is good news, right? That somebody else can step up and help things along, or that they can just play really well together as a unit to where the individual performance isn't necessarily always required.
Well, the ridiculous thing to me is that Nex was 006 at one point, and now he's 13-8. So yeah, he's really had a rags to riches story. Nex, meanwhile, speaking of the man, has been unable to capitalize, but tabs into the back of Spools. He's going to land himself a headshot, looking for a second one. Forrest will come to the rescue of Get Right. But now Get Right has met his demise anyway, just to the hands of God B, just delaying that loss of life a little while longer. Forrest can flirt with the idea of rotating all he wants if the bomb is down on the B side. So Forrest has to come to this site eventually. Could take him a minute to get there. He has lots of time to play with. It's also rough for him because he's got a Glock at this kind of range. Like the USP should always come out ahead. And Legia will connect and give Big that second pistol round.
It started out okay for an NiP, that opening pick, but Big was very quick to respond. And so that is going to be Big holding off NiP from tying things up. Extending their lead just a bit here. We will see them go ahead and get those UMPs out in play. 1-4 on Tabson. NiP without the bomb plant will go for the pistol armor here. Draken looking to try to get out of mid fast, but takes a lot of damage and just has to back up. Forrest will now post up with the Deeg, see what he can find. As Nex is playing up close.
Forrest is going to get the first for the Deagle. Oh, and a second as well, and he's flashed at the same time. So Nex is going to go down, 2 kills. Forrest single-handedly carving out a chance. An opportunity, although fleeting, is now up for debate. The Ninjas also have Kevlar behind these pistols, and so if they can get their hands on some weapons, things will get interesting. Forrest doesn't need anything else, though. The Deagle is doing all the work for him. He's backing away with the UMP. He's able to get one. Forrest with those 3 kills has really turned this round on its head. Keith and Tabson are both healthy, and they both have a few nades between the two of them. Keith has now been spotted. A bunch of players are charging down his location. They get smashed in midair by Forrest, who's on for the ace. We've seen a few aces today, but this would be one of the better ones. We could pull this off, but he's going to burn to a crisp instead. The anti-climax is real. And now it's up to Rez. Can you pick up from where Forrest left off? You've got the bomb. The plant should be forthcoming. And it will be finalized. Taps has decided to go all the way around onto the Ivy side. And Rez is now stuck for information. Has landed himself a headshot. Taps is going to go back in for seconds. It's all down to this trade, and Taps is going to get it going his way.
Wow. You fancied NiP chances when you saw Forrest go off like that. He had 4 kills on the round. I mean, he was just absolutely waltzing through. He just needed one other guy to step up and make something happen. And this would have gone to NiP, but instead Tapson and Key find a way to reel it back in. And so crisis averted if you're Big. Losing that round would have hurt a little bit, but they get through it. NiP with that bomb plant still able to muster up a bit of something. Forrest is actually already bought down to an AK and head armor. Everyone else will buy up what they can. Thought they would have... I guess it's just thinking about the fact that they forced 4 players to rebuy. They want to try to chase after that CT economy is the thought here. And Draken helps it along with that headshot on the Kiev.
Kiev a little slow to react. It's going to cost him his life. Fortunately, I suppose for Big, can't quite push their way through Ivy just yet or salvage the weapon that he dropped, which was the AWP, by the way. So Scout just beat an AWP. But NiP have their eyes set elsewhere. Going to maneuver their way through the lockers towards Vauxhalls. They have control of the bomb still. Thompson's here by himself. May have had a rough first half, but you always know he has it up his sleeve to just pull out a few masterpieces. Nades aplenty, firing his way, forcing Forrest out into the open. Finally get his man looking for the second one, lands that too. And he's done pretty much all he could have in that position. I suppose he wishes he had the M4A4 instead for the extra 10 bullets. Not that it matters anymore. The rest of this needs to go down to the rest of his team. Molly's being tossed out, just eliminating a couple of extra angles. They don't have to worry about any more. Draken onto God B though. It's suddenly turning in favor of the ninjas. Get Right's going to have the side swipe onto next. Didn't even check the angle. And now Leg, you're in a 1-on-3. Only has an up to his name. It's not going to happen. And barring the tabs and the heroics, nothing was really forthcoming by Big. NiP finally get themselves a T round.
Now, well done by NiP on inner, particularly just Get Right being able to get a forward position on inner. That's so important to be able to do. To just cut off rotates directly, especially when, you know, Big's running out of time and they're down a man and they don't really necessarily have the ability to clear everything, and then that's what just makes Get Right's forward position even more powerful when it goes unchecked. Able to kind of be the checkmate, so to speak, to make sure that round goes through for NiP, as they will be up against a big team that, despite the fact they won a couple of rounds in a row, because they had the rebuy 4 players in the previous round, they have no money into this one. Just some P250s and a scout onto next. No armor behind anyone. There's a couple of HE grenades out there, but you still fancy NiP's chances to start closing that gap, that is for sure. Money's still going to be tight for Big even in the next round, so this could be where NiP ties it up 10-all. As long as they don't fall prey to any type of gimmick or stack or just all-out fail in some regard.
We've already seen the power of the scout in the hands of Draken earlier, so Nex has it within him to maybe land a couple of headshots and turn the tide of battle in favor of Big. But as you say, other than that, or a massive mistake or whiff by NiP, they're definitely odds-on favourite to take this round to break the economy of some of these players.
And we do see NiP gathering up towards T-Con right now. They do have enough smokes to go for the smoke wall on the bomb train. And they actually will run out with just a smoke down at Ivy and just start trying to put those rifles to use. Force does find an entry, so does Rez. This is looking good. This looks to be what you expected to see. Keys, though, does actually put a little bit of mustard behind this. There's a couple of kills there, but nothing too troublesome for NiP. They'll get the round. Don't suffer too many casualties. They still have plenty of money to rebuy back up. And again, they have a Big that's going to be on a low buy into this one as well, so this should be where they can continue to play catch-up.
It's always going to be the issue on the CT side, but if you start well from a T's perspective, you break that economy down, and things can go your way very quickly. We saw this as well from Big when the roles were reversed. Well, it just took them a couple of rounds. Heavy investment from NiP going for double ops, and suddenly Big just went on a steamroll 7-round streak. There's every chance NiP could do the same here. Mac 10 going in first. Draken's using the expendable weapon to pick up 2. That's money in the bank. And it's a bit precarious because they lost the second player and existence pretty low, so they want to make sure they don't slip on any more banana peels. And Samson with the P250 is going to lay down Get Right. Last 2 remaining players for NiP are stuck in Pop Dog, and they don't even have the bomb. They can't quickly rotate to B. And this is going to allow Next the opportunity now to find the bomb. NiP, this is an absolute catastrophe. It may still end up going the way of NiP, but what a scrappy, horrible round this has been from their perspective. And it's just got a whole lot worse. Not only do they find it exists, but the bomb is still down. And Rez almost stabbing in frustration. He knows he has his work cut out for him. He knows there's going to be 2 players camped on the bomb, having a crossfire established. The saving grace is he has a bunch of nades at his disposal, and both players are low. He doesn't necessarily have to wait out that smoke if he wants to go for the pop flash through. And that seems to be the call. Strong despawn instead, but still lands the frag onto Thompson. There's enough time to pick up the bomb here and make something happen, but unfortunately that smoke's not quite on point, but his aim is! And Nex misses everything! NiP pick up the rounds and Big collectively just face-palmed.
I don't know what's worse, the fact that NiP let it get that close, the fact that Big should have finished it off and Rez somehow miracles it back for NiP. Man, oh man. Would have been worse on NiP for sure, obviously, if they would have lost that. But nonetheless, a crazy round goes to NiP, and they do tie it up at 10-all. They're going to pick up the pace. NiP known to being able to go for these faster pace executes with Forrest. Now freed up to focus on rifling with Draken on the team. When he gets out into open space, his aim can be deadly. Meanwhile, Rez working for inner halls with the AKs, so NiP are leaving options open, really. They're just finding entries all across the map, and Forrest still has the flanking ability through Z Connector. This was a rapid round, and Big were not prepared for it. As the rifles light up the scoreboard for NiP, almost a team ace. It's only Draken with the AWP who doesn't find a frag in that one.
You've got to go back to that 1v1 clutch between Nex and Rez and wonder, what if? If Big lose this, what if they win that round? Does that change the whole dynamic of this map? Does that give Big the win as opposed to a loss? A lot of hypotheticals, of course, Big could still come back and win this, but that for me is a key round. NiP now in cruise control, not just because they've taken the lead again, but because the economy is wrecked for Big. The momentum is certainly in the way of the Swedes. That's 4 rounds unanswered now. And we're seeing a very reminiscent half to what happened last time around, where the terrorists break the CTs down and just go on a massive streak of kills. This round's no different. Absent and Kiev make that just absent, make that absolutely nobody. NiP just walking among ghosts now. 2-round lead.
Not only that, but their money's in such great shape. I mean, they're really not going to have to save for a while here unless Big can win, you know, 3 or so rounds in a row. That's what it's going to take to get an easier time against NiP, as NiP have that AWP still in Draken's hands, full AKs across the board, 4 utility sets, and NiP do have that diversity about them. I mean, they have Thread as a coach who can bring in new executes for them. They have an ability to play very default play with Get Right, Ivy, and Reds in her halls, and just working map control, and they have the ability to throw in the faster paced play, as you saw just a couple of rounds ago with Forrest and Rez kind of pushing either side and finding entries. But this time it's Gabi who gets the opening blow onto Forrest, who is trying to make something happen from ladder room. They're going to keep trying to go for it, and Gabi's just going to keep lighting him up. It's raining men and ladder, and Gabi has more than an umbrella.
Able to repel anything that goes his way. Get Right, completely neutralized off that flashbang. And Rez is just going to charge straight across the B site. There is going to be an M4 waiting for him in the hands of Tabson, who was unable to actually land the frag. So that's going to be a bomb plant. That's going to make this round a little bit more interesting. You expect the nades now to start firing in. The likes of the incendiary, all those are smoked down, but it's not required. Gob intelligently just tapping through the smoke to make sure that Rez couldn't retreat back into ramp. And so that will be a big lifting the 5-round curse.
Absolutely. Just great work from Gabi holding off ladder room. I mean, that was really the biggest thing. I mean, NiP just goes down 3 versus 5 off the back of that alone. Ladder room can be so tricky for terrorists now with these grenade pin noises. You see a lot of players talking about that. It's just not as easy to pop flash your way in anymore. That's why you see some teams having to resort to spending like 2 Molotovs just to make sure that ladder room's cleared out. And Gabi, they're able to time things perfectly to find both those frags, and is going to put Big just 1 round away from tying this right back up. Again, still plenty of money on the NiP side to keep things going. Draken, it still has that AWP. Default setup here for NiP on the opening, but there is that added emphasis on inner halls. Particularly the AWP from Draken on Ivy, actually. Sorry, it was Get Right who went to inner halls. They moved the op over to Ivy, so a good adjustment from NiP. Catches him off guard, I think, on Big.
Oh, that nade, though. That's tasty, Tabs, and he threw it from the train into Vauxhall. It landed on Exist's head. Wrecked him and Draken as well, I believe. Oh, it was Draken, pardon me. It was Exist and Get Right. And now Get Right's going to push out onto the site. Legia just statuing himself on top of the train.
Wow.
Hoping if I don't move, they can't see me. It's not quite how it works here. All of NiP are low, however. There is maybe a bit of wiggle room for Big to inflict some serious damage and potentially even make this clutch a reality, as Nex is going to go in for a second. Both him and God B are healthy. Neither of them have a kit or nades. But if they play it fast, there's every chance they could make something happen here. The downside is that Draken actually has a Molotov.
And no smoke to extinguish him, no kits.
Yeah, this round's actually over now. It was a valiant attempt. They did take a couple players with them, but the round is going to go the way of NiP, who will regain their 2-round leads.
Yeah, you liked it for a moment there when Nex was getting a couple of kills, but then when you come to the realization that the GG Molotovs in Draken's hands, there's no way to put it out. There's no kits to get that 5-second defused. The odds were stacked against Big at that point. As an NiP will make it 13-11. Again, you hardly ever expect an op to be lurking out Ivy, so I just don't think that Big were expecting a huge inner push with rifles the moment that you see an op get a kill at the other side of the map. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of unorthodox. So that was well orchestrated by NiP. Particularly Get Right being able to slide out sidewalk like that undetected really helped open up that inner bomb site. And Big are starting to run dry on funds is the other big thing you have to think about here. They just had their money reset. They're only on a 2-round loss bonus. If you lose here, NiP's getting map point. I mean, there's really no stopping that. So all the work that Big has done, it may unravel here in the end.
It's going to give them more impetus not to allow that to happen. Keith actually has his crosshair placed up on the dumpsters as opposed to head or chest height elsewhere. Molotov has been tossed out. It's going to skew his vision a little bit, hence him moving to the left-hand side. Now there's a flashbang. Yep, Right's trying to give himself a little bit of wiggle room, and it is going to be counteracted by the smoke. 50 seconds left. NiP have really made no inroads anywhere on the map. No real estate is theirs.
They do have control of brown halls. I mean, this is just basically their default, right? This is what Reds is being used for in this team now, is to help control this area of the map while Get Right kind of parks over at Ivy. They're giving Draken a chance to use this op at T connector. They are getting down to the last 30 seconds, though, so they need to start thinking about something. They will put some utility down at inner with those smokes, and Rez also commits his body out there. It does pull that rotate from Nex, and 2 are still in inner, but Eve is still holding out with AWP at outer.
Here comes the push. It has to come right now, NiP. Now or never. The nade is going to do significant damage to Forest. He's going to have to pile his way onto the site. He has the bomb under his control, and that is the round done. Thompson's double spray. All that was required. Left it far too little too late for NiP's perspective. And Draken trying to hold on to his AWP.
Wow.
He will be sat in Ivy, and it will be successful in that sense. And they can buy again, but yeah, there's a couple of mistakes there that cost NiP dearly.
And they ran low on time, and I think losing Rez at inner was pretty big. I mean, yeah, throwing the smokes down, trying to pull a rotation is fair enough, but you don't want to lose a player right there. You want to be able to make sure you can transition everyone over to make sure that outer execute has that added punch to it. It didn't happen. That's so huge for Big to win a clean round, by the way. They don't have to rebound anyone except for utility, so that means they get to bank up a little bit of money. I mean, that's a round where if Big would have lost that, NiP probably win the map, or at least get to map point before Big can buy. They have to play for overtime. But with that flawless victory, now all of a sudden, if Big can win this, they tie it, and NiP's funds will finally dry out. So, that's big stuff.
Drawing board for NiP, and this time it's going to be a lot more aggressive. No slow plays this time around. Get Right with a molly kill onto God B, but Nex is able to connect himself a shot back onto Rez. Bomb planted. Backward positions now being assumed, and 3 players on E-box. This is going to turn into a complete mess. It's all down to Exist, and he's going to go down. It's all well and good getting the bomb plant, NiP, but you had no fallback plan. There was no retreat, no plan B. And Big have capitalized on that. We're all even again.
Again, NiP looked sharp at the beginning. Just a nice little pacing change, picking up the tempo, getting into the outer bomb site rapidly, getting those smokes down, getting the plant. Everything was looking great until Big kind of started pushing those smokes a bit, getting over the top of that smoke on the bomb train. Almost a flawless round again for Big. I mean, the retake only had 1 player go down for Big. Thanks to the bomb plant, NiP are still able to put together a buy here, but Big have eliminated NiP's advantage by winning the last 3 of 4 rounds, and Keeve is adding to it. That's Draken out. He was again going for that pick at Ivy to maybe set up an inner execute again, but he goes out this time. But luckily for NiP, Rez and Get Right respond, and they have a man advantage, and they have the inner bomb site in their grasp.
Keep continuing to land. Again, aggressive plays onto the site. A minute and 15 left as the bomb gets planted. They still have a couple smokes to stop the potential Molotov. There isn't one in the hands of NiP, but there's no way of Big knowing that. That being said, the bullets are doing all the talking for both teams at this stage. Forrest switches to his right-hand side. He hears a bit of movement on the side, and he's going to go for the spray, and Forrest is going to stick the double just at the end in the nick of time. NiP are starting to awaken from their slumber. 14-13 in the lead. Big will have another bye.
Yeah, and it's again that pacing change from NiP, just doing something rapid over at Inner. This time, CTs aren't hiding behind smokes waiting to play for the retake. They took the open duels, and NiP won 2 key ones there in Inner Halls with Rez and Get Right. It was that same type of strat where they were trying to use Draken's AWP to make Big second guess what was going on at Inner. Again, you don't expect an op to be taking a pick at Ivy and then 4 people rushing Inner site. It's just kind of, like I said, an unorthodox play, and I think that really hurts Big reading the round. And again, just clean entries from NiP certainly helped that along. As it is 14-13. Double lot for Big. Again, Inner the focus for NiP. They have some utility behind it as well. This time Draken will join them with the AWP.
It's going to be another aggressive execute, it would seem. The smokes and mollies have been tossed out. Tabson, the main man, has to back away. Leggy's in the smoke and he's going to get sprayed. Forrest realizes he's read the script. He's a couple pages ahead of Big at this stage, and Tabson, try as he may with a double spray, is finally going to be put down. That nades slightly too far away from Exist to take his life outright, but he's been picked off from the AWP anyway, and the bomb has been dropped just to add salt in the wounds. Draken going to try and smoke himself onto the bomb, and he's able to pick it up, but it's at the cost of a lot of his health as he gets legged partially through the wall. He's down to 19. Doesn't really have time to waste. He's going to come out of Pop Dog. Oh, Keeve actually missed that shot. That's going to give Draken an opportunity now to maybe make something happen. He's playing it aggressively. Straight through, past connector side. Try and get round the back of Keeve. It's all about this first kill. If he can take down Keeve, then maybe the round will follow. Keeve gets plucked out. It's all on Next now. He's been in a couple of 1v1s. The one that springs to mind is Rez. He lost that, and now he's allowed Draken to scamper away. And this is where Train is such a horrible sight to retake on the A perspective. Next doesn't have a kit either. He's stacking up against him at this stage. Draken's played this flawlessly. Next is still trying to check angles. He's still trying to figure out where Draken is. Draken has no reason to peek at this stage. You see the shadow, lands the no-scope, and Next goes down. NiP, in the dying embers of this map, have got a 2-round lead, and Big are screwed for money.
Man, oh man, what a play from Draken. A big clutch for him. I like the idea that was going on for NiP there with Exist. I mean, he didn't commit to the bomb plan. He knew the nades were coming in. He knew the rotation was a factor. He catches a kill on Potlaw, gets it into a 2v2, and you see the idea was to bring both players over and play like a 2v1 on the outer bomb site, and then hopefully another 2v1 after the bomb was down, but Exist gets out, and Draken forced to make a play, and he delivers. And now it is map point for NiP. Big scraping the bottom of the barrel to put a buy together here, but there's not much behind it. They're not packing too much of a punch in this round. It's just that FAMAS on Tabson and some upgraded pistols and armor. There is some kits sprinkled out, so that at least is gonna, you know, not let defusing be a factor. But what can they really do up against a fully bought NiP who have all the utility at their disposal? Again, they're looking for the inner bomb site. Well then.
Maybe a few more twists and turns in this tale yet. Tabson's not given up just yet. He will be plucked out from behind, but it's okay. He's done his damage. He's done his work. Get right, though. Forever the lurker will very much return the favor. His pistols, but they're going to be able to get the 2-player advantage. Exist. Has his position been compromised? Do they know he's up on catwalk? It would appear so now. They're starting to spray towards his location. He doesn't have control of the bomb. Big looked like they had a foot already out of this match. Maybe not just yet. It would be a heartbreak if NiP pick up the second consecutive clutch. 25 seconds. Exist with no nades. Does he want to go for this? The economy for NiP's not fantastic here, you know. They could probably do with just saving his AK, but he's not going to be afforded that, and Exist can't keep a hold of it. He's going to go down, and this is the issue. Forrest only on $1,500, Get Right on 2K. This is going to be a very poor buy to end the half, and potentially the map.
Yeah, it's a tough time to get reset. Taps in with a big individual play. The one guy that had a rifle on Big decides to take a risk and play forward on upper. Delivers 2 kills. Buys time for his team, and now they're a round away from forcing an overtime. We've only had 1 OT so far in this bracket. It was Gambit and Flipside. So what can NiP do here? Just a couple of pistols. Forrest only has clock armor. That's as bad as it gets, man. But they're trying to make their way into enter. They do make 1 entry, but Legia is responding so well with the M4. It looks like extra rounds is going to be how this gets determined.
It's looking more and more likely as Legia comes through with a 4K. We are going to overtime for the 2nd time today. So if you don't know, it's 16K MR3. First to 19 will be victorious. If we have 18, we go again until there must be a winner. This is only the first out of potentially 3 maps, and so far it's lived up to the hype.
Absolutely. Just to remind you, if you're just joining us for whatever reason, we do have G2 and Envy who won on the top end of the bracket today, so they will face each other tomorrow in the first semi-final. Gambit was able to beat Flipside in 3. And so they are waiting in the 2nd semifinal match to determine who will move on to New York. It is going to be Big or NiP that will play against Gambit tomorrow. That's what we're deciding now. This is only the first map of the series. I believe this was Big's map pick as well.
That is correct, yes. Big pick Train, NiP pick Cash, and then
Mirage is 3rd.
Mirage is the last one, yeah. How are you feeling, Dusk? Because, man, we've been casting a while now. I think it's like 10.5 hours.
Yep, 10.5 hours to the T. Been a good one.
Yeah, this match has definitely woken me up. Had a couple of slower games earlier. I think it's safe to say wasn't the greatest of CS in some of those rounds. It was entertaining, though, for different reasons. But this match has been solid throughout.
Indeed, it has delivered. Everyone kind of having their eyes on this new NiP. Really, I mean, this is the first time they've really come this far away from their core. As far as the lineup they started with in CSGO back in like 2012, right? Still the core 3 are here, but it was forever the rotating 5th. Now it's even a new 4th for this team, so we're trying to keep an eye on them and what they're up to. Obviously, Big turned a lot of heads lately with how they qualified for the major and then what they did once they were there. Will they be able to knock out NiP at this tournament? That would be another big scalp to add to the collection, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's just match 1, but Big is getting aggressive at inner. It's an equal trade, though, thanks to Rez.
Yeah, and then Tabson was there to help Rez out as well as he pulled back. He was already in position to spray down on the ramp, so I like that preemptive strike that Big did. It is a 1-for-1 trade. It typically will favor the terrorists, though, all things considered. But still, it is existence gone down. Currently, bottom fragging for NiP. Top frag is 25 for Forest, and 24 between both Thompson and Nex. Key's also on 26, pardon me. So he's actually top of the scoreboard. Consistently solid with the AWPs. What worries me though is the Big have already gone through the bulk of their nades. They only have an incendiary and a flashbang left with 45 seconds on the clock. This doesn't bode well. Whereas NiP have a bunch of nades between Draken and Rez. Sure, time is going down. They're going to look for the boost onto connector box. The Molly will greet them. That's going to hurt God B if he's not careful. He's going to start to tick a little bit, so he backs away. Smoke's going to extinguish the Molotov, but in amongst all the chaos, the bomb's been planted. And down goes Nex. An important pick. Make that a second one as Draken takes out God B. Comes out into the open. NiP looking to capitalize on this early advantage. And Key is not long for this world. His gun's going to stick around the corner before he does. And Get Right is not going to miss that. All on you, Tabson. And gets picked out from the side. Unfortunate timing. NiP 16-15.
just a big outer execute for NiP. I think the biggest part of that was the fact that, you know, Big had 2 players committed to doing a boost in Z. That was half their players that were left once it was a 4-on-4. And then the utility of NiP pretty much rendered that useless, particularly because Force does just peek the boost outright and gets the kill. And at that point, there's just nothing for Big to really leverage to get back into outer to retake with. And so NiP will claim first blood in overtime. They'll move to 16. Again, economy not really a factor in the MR3 16K, so no sense really commenting on that. It's really just going to come down to who can win when everything's thrown out. As again, NiP are looking to open up fairly. Default, this time Get Right will be lurking Ivy instead of Draken's AWP. Forrest looking to challenge here towards ladder, but Keeve takes out Get Right in the meantime. Draken with the response.
Oh, that gift wrapping NiP, an opportunity to take the lead there with Tabson going for the peak. Again, when you lose the early confrontation, you go 1-4 in a trade, and from CT's perspective, you may feel pressured to go looking for information, and Tabson, a key part of the big machine, has been dismantled. And now they're very thinly spread. It's a good shot by Keeve. It's going to keep them in this round and give them the opportunity now to go in for more Draken. That's a hell of a flick shot onto Keeve. He'll play no further part of this round. Legia up around the side. He's going to catch Rez with his pants down. And now the bomb's been dropped as well, and Exist is unable to stop that. I don't know if Legia will expect the second player to be here. Just saw his shoulder peeking around the corner, did Exist. Not able to take down Legia where he stands, but there's 20 seconds left. And NiP can't afford to wait around any longer. They're going to knock out the pop dog windows and try and brute force their way out onto the site. 10 seconds now. All it takes is for GodB to land one of these kills and the round is done. Important Molotov, though, stops Legia from picking them, but GodB still able to capitalize and land himself a frag. Exist has already done so much damage, he's looking for the headshot. Not going to be able to land it. Does take down the first, looking for the second one. It's not going to happen. GodB just about holds on with 26 health. And we're all even once more.
That was so close because Exist did so much damage to GodB and then got the kill on Z. You liked his chances there for a moment. Just didn't get quite enough bullets in, and so Big somehow pulled that out. A lot of credit to Keeve. He was finding some nice AWP picks. But it's GodB who finishes the job. And what was a very scrappy round, very back and forth. Everyone seemed to have a response for each other. But in the end, Big got one better. And so it's all even again.
This has been an issue that NiP have dealt with in regulation as well. It's just funneling down into pop dog and getting picked off one by one. That needs to stop. It doesn't do anything for them. Or at least proceed the drop with a flash or a Molotov.
Whoa!
GodB get absolutely smashed.
Damn.
Good night. Thanks for coming.
Not much you can say about that.
Bang domed. Legia's close proximity too, and he will fall where his leader did. Like lambs to the slaughter. NiP butcher Big. It's a hell of a wallbang. I'd love to see that again.
Yeah. That was top class from Drake, and that was big as well because things were getting a bit dicey when Forrest went down. And Get Right's been able to follow up Draken's pick with a couple of kills. That's leaving Keeve and Tapson alone. Tapson trying to fight from the back end here. He does find one. Traded, though. And now Keeve in a 1v2.
1-on-2 for Keeve. He's already picked up one. Looking for more. Player to his right-hand side, going to be pushing the smoke. He may be able to mitigate this flank, though. And Draken may be lulled into a false sense of security, but he's seen Keeve and he's flicked onto him. Draken's been landing some phenomenal shots in these last few rounds, which really counted in overtime. And NiP will take the 17-16 lead. 2 more required for the map.
That was the Draken and Get Right show there. Big frags from both of those players. Some individual efforts coming through, especially things when looked a little bit bleak when Forrest went down so fast at ladder room. He's had a tougher time taking that from the T side in many of these rounds, actually. But the response was on point. As NiP will do one better than Big in the first half of overtime. Again, it's a race to 19. 16K, so economy doesn't really play into this. So we're going to see double op for NiP to open things up in this half. And one already rings out.
Drake, and why do you just have a USB?
What? Oh my god.
Okay, you threw me off there for a second.
Yeah, I thought it was live, dog. Not gonna lie.
The thing is, I fell into the trap as well because I
saw both ops get bought, and then I saw Forrest get a pick on someone picking T-Con. So what the? I mean, it looked pretty damn real for a not live round.
I was like, Drake and bruh, why are you throwing though?
I mean, he bought an op, he just didn't have it out. I don't know. It's weird. That's the thing on my GUI, he had an op. That's why I was confused.
On mine, he didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. That was really weird.
But we can blame it on 10.5 hours.
Apparently, we can read the future though, because it is in fact a double op setup.
Just next level analysis, mate. Dust called ahead of time. Mystic Dust.
8-dimensional chess I'm playing over here.
You proper confused me though. I'm not gonna lie. I fell for that 100%. Anyway, here we go. We are actually live now. Big already out onto the site. Tabs and taking point. Will either of these two ops ring out? Molly and Flash stops the push on green. Get right elsewhere is doing the damage. Surviving in a spray. It's not far off, you know. Next nearly connected on at least one of the plays. He's going to get a second one. 3 bullets left. Decides to go for the M4A4. 25 bullets left in this magazine. And now, wouldn't you just know it? The two AWPs that came through into this round are the last two standing in terms of players. And Forrest is going to get himself splattered off God B. All on Draken. Up through the trains. Lands the first. He's been landing some incredibly fast shots so far. But next will not allow him to add any more to that tally. 3K in the round.
I bet your Forrest was wishing that last round was the real one.
Oh, yes.
Got blitz there big time. Also, just big props to Nets. I mean, the utility from Big was so on point, just allowing Nets a route into the site to wrap around bomb train. But big entries from him. I mean, he got the 2 biggest kills of the round, basically, to make sure that bomb went down for Big. And then finishes off the job with the third. And so it's all tied back up now, 17 all. No double op this time for NiP. Forrest wants to have the M4. Money was not a factor in that decision, by the way. As Leggy does take out Drake, and so the one out that was in play is already out.
Well, Draken going down so early. Big now have a real opportunity, not just to take this round, but the map as well. They always looked like they were behind after that massive deficit at the start. They had that spree back in the mid part of the first half, but then the second half started poorly for them as well. A good time to leapfrog ahead. Keeves out first, but the crab walking's not going to be to his success, more so to his detriment. Next, thought about pushing through the smoke. That would have been a bad decision. Flashbang perfect onto Rez. He has to relocate. Tabs is going to charge straight down. Goes for the jugular. Looking good for Big now. They've already claimed their stamp authority on the B site. They're going to go for the plant afterwards. 3 separate locations for the CTs. One's behind. That's going to be Get Right existed in connector. That flashbang destroying Get Right and Exist at the same time. And that's going to be pretty much Big stomping to an 18-17 lead. They have every chance at winning this map now.
Yeah, they're really winning some key opening battles in these last couple of rounds, and they pull out one ahead of NiP with just one left needed to secure their map pick on train. NiP needed to fit this one if they want to go to some more extra rounds. As they will get that op boosted here, and Kiev will deliver thanks to it. It was a double op investment from NiP, and one of them's already out. The early op exchanges for NiP have not been favorable in this half.
What a way for NiP to lose if they do let this one slip away. All the credit to God B and Big. Draken not going to give up the chase just yet. Looking into team main from Connector. Meanwhile, Rance up on the Vauxhall side. Draken, I think he assumed that the smoke was going to have his back, or at least a flash would be coming up as well. But he just walked out into his death. It's incredibly awkward to watch. And from a NiP's perspective as well, that is a brutal loss to take. Gonna flash their way out into some kills. Get Right's going to get one, but then he's going to go down instantly afterwards. The Molotov not quite landing on point. I think he was trying to land that onto the site to stop the plant. Now the bomb's been planted. This is looking like it's all but done. Rez and Exist have a tall task ahead of them. They're both going to come through with kills, but they still have Keeve and Legia to contend with. Both players have kits. There's maybe a glimmer of hope. They need this kill onto Legia. And it's going to go the way of Big, and that's probably the round done, and Keeve comes through with the last frag. Big have done it from behind almost the entire map. They take it 19-17, and they will move through onto the next map of Cash, 1-0 in the lead.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy thinking how well Draken played throughout that game, only just to really struggle in that second half of OT with the AWP. I mean, Legia caught him once at inner. He gets caught right there, kind of an awkward space, trying to rotate out a Z connector into heaven or something like that. And then those really hurt. Like, the ops never got going for NiP on their CT side in overtime. So you have to kind of think about that. That was a big difference maker in the extra rounds. Also, just even in that 2v2, that, I mean, if Exist just fits one more bullet in on the Legia and ladder room, maybe we go even more rounds. I mean, that was just kind of crazy how close that really kind of came down to. And there was a lot of kind of chaotic situations that could have gone either way throughout that game. But in the end, Big won enough of them to secure it. And so they will move on to Cash, having secured their map pick train as they go into NiP's pick. As we will see who is going to take this last quarterfinals, who is going to meet Gambit tomorrow in the semis. That's what we're looking to ask, and we'll find out soon. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with map number 2 in just a little bit.